Thank you everyone for joining the webinar. I wanted to start with brief introductions and then talk through what we're going to do on the webinar today. First of all, I'll let Guillaume introduce himself.
hmm Yeah, so I'm a financial advisor. I'm based in San Francisco. I've been doing that for 6 years now. I was in tech before and I switched career. And so I'm pretty tech oriented. I have in 6 years since I started my firm, I went from zero to $100 million as of yesterday, actually. Thank you. Just by myself with some technology. And when I created my firm, I try to spend time, most time I have with my clients. If that's what's important for me, that's where the financial advisor adding value is. And so everything in the back end needs to be taken care of by software, process, automation, and more AI. And I think that's what we're going to talk about today.
That's great. Okay. And then just a bit of an introduction by myself. I'm co-founder and chief product officer of Knapsack, which is an AI toolset for financial advisors to enable automation with their private data in a private way. We'll talk about that a little more. I'm a serial founder and previously worked at Google and Meta, and I have experience within financial services as I started a financial service company called PayJoy with two friends, and have been really excited about spending time with financial advisors to learn about their challenges and how AI automations can help them and how we can create compliant AI automations. Yeah, what are we going to do today? First, we're going to do a little welcome. Then I think we're going to talk a little bit about why AI matters to financial advisors. The big question is this really something that's relevant to financial advisors? There are a lot of trends that emerge in technology and not all of them are relevant. We thought it'd be a good idea to talk about that a little bit. And then introduce Knapsack, which is a solution that I'm building with the team and do a little bit of a demo. And then I think it'd be important to talk about other AI tools and software tools that advisors might want to use and potential pitfalls, ethical considerations when using AI. And then finally, we can close with a Q&A if anyone does have any questions. So that's generally what we're focused on today. So let's start with just a general welcome and setting context of where we are right now. I think where we are right now is that AI has actually dominated a lot of the press for a lot of reasons. There's the top line growth of AI companies. There's also the fact it's a new consumer behavior that's been unlocked. One thing that is interesting to set context is that the computers of tomorrow will actually look a lot different from the computers of today. And so I always think a little bit about trends going forwards. The famous Wayne Gretzky line of skate where the puck is going. We are in a situation now where a lot of notebooks and computers are becoming AI capable. It was projected to be about 29% at the end of this year. It looks like that's actually where it's likely to be. And then you can see in the future projected to actually increase quite significantly. These are shipments, not the install base. So the install base will still lag the shipments, but I think that's an interesting piece of context that everyone should be aware of in going into this. So yeah, maybe let's start by just talking about why AI matters to financial advisors. So Guillaume,
Mhm.
is your take on based on your personal.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think financial advisors in general face a few challenges. Um, One is managing client expectations. As financial advisor, I sit with my clients. I have about 100 clients a year, and I work with about 200 clients every year, hourly clients every year. And so I see a lot of people. And what I noticed is it requires more and more education. They want to know how to invest. They want to know how it works. They don't, and maybe it was like that before. I don't know. But since I started my business, they want more and more education. They want more and more answers faster and faster. And that's partly how I use AI. Like, for example, when I have an email from a client and it's a long email and they want to know a lot of details, instead of going through the basics, writing it myself, I just ask an AI that can be ChatGPT, that can be another AI, to give me the basics. Okay, how do we invest? Why do we diversify? Like for example, yesterday I had a client who say, "Why should I?" She had 100% of your investment in Google. Why should I diversify? It's Google. It keeps going up. And so instead of writing a long email saying, "Here's why, here are the reason why," ask ChatGPT, give me 5 reasons, short 5 reasons why you should diversify. And then I review the answers and they look good. I change them maybe a little bit to fit my client's personality. And then I put in the email. It saved me a lot of time that I can use to actually talk to other clients
Mhm.
directly. So that's one thing. Then regulatory pressure, more and more regulations. It becomes really complicated. There's like new rules every year because in the financial industry, like in every industry, there are bad actors. And so there are scammer and everything. So the SEC try to implement rules. And there are so many that it's almost impossible to know all of them. Most of the time it's common sense, but not always. Like the marketing rule has changed. So what should we do in terms of marketing and things like that? It's really hard to tell. And
Mm.
AI and actually Knapsack can do that. They can check your if you're compliant
Mhm.
or not. Oh, like I'm gonna hire 2 new employees. How do I check if in their emails they're really compliant? Did they send a knockout number to a client? No, you shouldn't send confidential information directly by email. A tool like an AI tool can check all my emails and see if I'm compliant or not. So that's gonna save me so much time.
And is that so it's a time saver, and what is the consequence of non-compliance for an independent
Yeah.
financial advisor? Maybe
And
make
then
that.
you can lose your license, you
Mhm.
can be fined, you can have, if you have an audit, which happened to me with California a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, they're gonna find something. And they're gonna want to know what do you have in place? What process do you have in place to make sure that you're compliant? If you tell them, hey, I have an AI running on all my emails and they flag every time there is an email that is non-compliant, and then we address that. I mean, for regulators are not trying to fine you or they're not trying to, they try to give you the best practice you can have and make sure that you don't do something bad with your clients. So they're going to look at fees. They're going to look at, okay, what are the cyber risk? Very important. And so on that as well, you cannot really use an AI like ChatGPT, or you have to be really careful. You cannot send documents like tax return on ChatGPT because it goes in the cloud and there's like social security number, identity, like the name, the address. So you have to take if you want to do that, you have to take the PDF and put something that makes it not possible to read social security number, etc. So that takes some time. What if we had an AI that stay local, that stay on your computer, that doesn't need to stand document in the cloud? So that's what I need as a financial advisor, and that's what regulators are going to look at. That's what a compliance officer wants. They want something local when you don't have to send like confidential information in the cloud. And that's what I was excited by Knapsack because you stay local. So I can do whatever I want with the AI. I can put documents, I can link documents, I can have huge documents. For example, I review life insurance documents. I don't have to send it in the cloud. You can stay on my computer and the AI will read the documents and I can ask question and see, okay, which page is, which information is in which pages, etc. So that's all of that I can do with an AI. Before it would take me like forever to review a 90 pages document. No, I can do it. So to go back to regulatory pressure, it's also for compliance officer. They can monitor all the emails of all the companies and red flag right away if there's a problem with an email. I do that with Knapsack like today.
Mhm.
Like it looks at my email and say, oh yeah, it's compliant, it's compliant, it's compliant. There's like different things like that. So that's great.
Yeah, and then maybe to talk a little bit, I really appreciate queuing up the demo, and I guess we'll do the demo shortly. But I guess I wanted to zoom out a little bit. We're talking a lot about A, saving time, and B, have being making sure you have assurance that you're compliant. So on the saving time, why is that so important for an independent, small or medium-sized financial advisor?
Mm,
What are the constraints you're under? I'm just curious, just to put it in a bigger picture, is
yeah.
this about the fact that every financial advisor needs more time available for prospecting? Is it that there's a lot of tedious work that takes up time that gets in the way of client interactions? I'm just curious, how do you think of managing your
Mm,
time? And I know you actually had created a fair number of automations in your work,
mhm.
and you're setting up your practice, and you're a solo practitioner primarily, right? I think you have a small team, but I'm
Yeah,
just
I'm
curious, how do you
hiring
think of that?
two other people, but
Two other
I'm by
people.
myself
Okay.
right now. Yeah. But they're going to come in January. So I think there are a few things. It's not only about purely time, but time is money somehow. And in the past few years, we witnessed in the financial industry a fee compression. Clients don't want like 2% fees anymore.
Hmm.
It's 1%. So
Hmm.
how do you save money on preparing the meetings
Hmm.
that you have to do? How do you save money on trying to find the information about a client and trying to build like a financial plan that is at the same time customized for the client, but also is not going to take you 20 hours. To give you a sense, for me, creating a financial plan, it takes me 30 minutes to 1 hour, but not more than that. And they are customized.
Hmm.
Like they are customized. And so I think AI can really save some time because it's always the same task. Create a financial plan. You're going to talk about retirement. You're
Hmm.
going to talk about 401ks. You're going to talk about IRAs. You're going to talk about all of that. It's always the same thing. When you prep a meeting, what are you going to talk about in the meeting? Oh, what is this clients? Like I manage about at any time about 150 clients at any time. So do I remember all of them? Absolutely not.
Hmm.
I have clients, they're going to take an hour of my time. We're going to start the financial plan. Then they're going to have another session. And a month after, in between, I had 50 other clients.
Right.
How do I remember them? I can't. So
Yeah.
I have to review, okay, who was this client? How old? What age? Etc. And actually, what if we have a tool that that can prep my meeting for me? And save me time and I don't have to go in there and adjust a few points of the clients. I'm like, oh yeah, that's this type of clients. Oh yeah, that's the second sessions. Oh yeah, here's what we're going to do in the meeting. Like in 2 minutes. I don't have an admin. I'm all by myself. In the old days, that was maybe a power planner.
Hmm.
Maybe today, like a lot of power planners do that for their financial advisor. They will prepare the meeting, etc. I think it's doesn't add much value to have someone does it. It can we can do it with technology. We can leverage technology. It's cheap, it's fast, and it's reliable.
Mm. And
So
why is
that gives
that?
me more time for business development
Yeah.
and talking with my clients. That gives me more time for actually adding value tasks.
Yeah, I guess I'm reflecting on the fact that, first of all, the fee compression point seems really important because if your fees are being cut in half, you either need to have the same revenue, you need to have twice as many clients, or they have to be twice as wealthy. And so you're
Right.
more likely to find twice as many clients. And that requires a lot more productivity. You have to be a lot more efficient and
Mhm.
automate a lot more. I'm also struck by the fact that the meeting prep in steel is the details really matter. There are really important things that are happening that are time sensitive. And as opposed to other areas of work, maybe even software development, you can always go back and change something if you really need to. Whereas here, the details really matter when you have only one meeting every 6 months with a client. You really need to make sure you get that right. And I guess the other thing I'm reflecting on is that I know that JP Morgan and Morgan Stanley have invested in AI for meeting preparation for their wealth management groups quite extensively. And it seems like that is probably a result of those dynamics, basically trying to make
Mhm.
people more productive and make sure that the clients they do have get retained because they have a great experience. It seems like that's probably what's going on there.
Yeah, there's also, and that's one of the challenges, it's retention of clients.
Exactly.
Like, how do you use AI to have some kind for the clients to have a customized experience and they don't feel like they're talking to a robot?
Yeah.
So how do you Or for the basic stuff, basic question, you use AI. And for the more complex question, which I have because I do cross-border financial planning between France and the US. So AI cannot help with that. It's too complicated. But it can help with a lot of things.
Mhm.
Basic questions. Like that, I can spend more time with complex question and less time with basic question and be like really responsive with my clients.
Mhm.
And that helps with the retention. My clients can know they can email me and I will answer in the next few hours.
Mhm.
It's that. It's not even 24 hours. It's 3 hours.
Mhm.
Either by using AI or by writing in myself or having AI give me like a draft of an email and then I adjust it. But you have to be productive. But at the same time, clients are not dumb. If it's like basic, they can see it's AI. They can see if you just copy and paste, it won't work. For
Mhm.
now,
Mhm.
we'll see at some point. But yeah, for client retention, it's really important that you're responsive, you answer them quickly. How many clients I had that comes from big firms and they're like, yeah, I tried to email my financial advisor. It took a week or two for him to answer.
Right.
For me, it takes me a few hours.
Yeah.
So you have to leverage technology in some ways. If you don't at least try to know what AI can do for you, you will fall behind.
Mhm.
And your clients will not have a good experience. To me, and that's part of the value of my company, we put the client first. Everything we do is for the clients. It's like Amazon, when they deliver a package, they're going to do everything to deliver the package as fast as possible to give the client a good experience. That's the same thing here. You want to deliver good information as fast as possible to your clients.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I guess we're talking about AI and financial advising or finance. I think we should probably also address robo advisors, right? I guess there's always the option that clients have to use a lower cost system that is more AI based that does not have that personal touch. So how do you think of that? Does that increase the pressure on providing the responsiveness you're talking about and the service that you're talking about?
It does in some ways,
Mhm.
but what's great, and that's how I talk to my clients when they ask me, why would I go to We Financial instead of getting a robo advisor? I tell them, try to call a robo advisor when the market goes down, when you have a change in your life. You won't have any answer. Try to call a target fund. If you need to change, you don't. And for some clients, it doesn't have any value. They're like, oh, yeah, I can take care of myself. Fine. They're not the right clients for a financial advisor. But in my experience, most of the clients I work with, they answer very well to, oh, yeah, I see how you, yeah, it's like in the fitness industry, or it's like going to a doctor. Then you find a diagnosis online on YouTube for a broken bone. Sure. But it won't replace talking to someone. Same thing with financial advising. And as long as as long as you are responsive, as long as actually they can call you or email you, and it's not going to take 2 weeks for you to answer.
Yes.
As long as you have that, you will be fine. Your clients will be delighted. They will be like I have clients all the time who say, "Oh, I didn't think you would answer that fast." And for some financial advisor, I heard that in the industry, they say, "Oh, don't answer fast because they're gonna think you're not busy." No, it doesn't work that way. Maybe it was like that before. It's not my experience. No, and that's why I could grow that fast. 100 clients, 100 million in 5, 6 years. Because yeah, I don't go after the clients. I don't try to sell them anything. I actually filter my clients at this point.
That's a great
Eh,
position to be in. But then I
yeah,
guess that
yeah,
also implies a productivity constraint, a capacity constraint. You have to
absolutely.
filter them because you can only support so many clients at one time.
Mhm.
So I think that actually putting this in context, I guess a lot of people talk about this great wealth transfer happening in the US from the boomers at this point. And I'm just wondering, I don't know if it's as relevant for your target customers, but I'm sure you hear a lot about this. What is the impact, do you think, of that great wealth transfer on financial advisors and on their need to use AI or not to use AI or just on
Mm.
productivity in general?
It impacts me a lot because I have a lot of clients. So most of my clients are French in the US, and they started to get, as the boomer in France die, they start to have like, transfer of wealth.
Yep.
And so I'm in the middle of it. I'm 47. So my
Yep.
parents are boomers. And so I see that a lot. The new generation, which is my generation, it's not the new generation, it's the Gen X. And we grew up, we are in between the millennial grew up with computer. I grew up with a computer. I grew up with more or less with internet. But the next generation, it's even worse. They really grew up with internet, the millennial. And so they have expectation. They have less attention span than the boomer. They have expectation and they less, it really depends. But more of them, they don't mind having meetings on Zoom.
Hmm.
They don't mind talking to a computer.
Hmm.
They don't mind. So how do you add value as a financial advisor?
Right.
Because boomers see the value of interaction because they are used to it.
Yep.
The new generation or the next generation, Gen X or Gen Z or millennial, they plus with COVID, they are used to interaction through a computer. And so that how do you add the most value
Hmm.
then to your clients? So before you could be like, do something pretty busy, opening an account
Hmm.
that adds values. You open an account for your clients that add values. Today it doesn't.
Hmm.
They can do it in 2 minutes online. All of that, as a financial advisor, you shouldn't do anything. It shouldn't be you opening accounts, or I would have say even trading that can be done by machine. All of that you value is how you interact with your clients and how deep the interaction you need to have with your clients. And how do you do that? By knowing your clients. How can you know 100 clients or 100 or 200 clients? You can't remember all the hobbies or what they like, or an AI can help you with that by creating a client profile that would tell you all you need to know. Hey, this client went on vacation. You should ask, it can give you suggestion. Hey, ask this client about in your prep meeting, you can say, hey, ask this client about the vacation. Or, oh, their daughter just got married. That's how it went. How can you remember that? You can't. But if you have like push suggestion from an AI that says, hey, don't forget to ask your client
Hmm.
that, don't forget to ask, great. It creates like a more customized experience with your clients. It's not, to me at least, ethically speaking, it's not cheating. You just cannot remember everything. And I really care about my clients,
I
you
also
know, and
yeah, millennials and Gen Z also just assume there's going to be technology helping you do these things. They're so used to personalization on
yeah.
Amazon, on whatever
And they expect you to have,
level.
they expect to have an experience.
Yeah, exactly. And then I guess that it also seems what I'm hearing is they expect a certain level of responsiveness that is maybe at a higher level than maybe the older generation did. And yeah, I think and fundamentally, as the boomers die, financial advisors need to transition to the younger generation to basically retain clients effectively. So that means working
Yes.
differently and actually being more responsive than they maybe were before, and possibly even being servicing more clients because there might be more fee compression at this point. I think that's something to think about.
Serving more clients and keep the personalized experience.
Exactly.
That's the
Right.
challenge.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing all that. So I thought next what we could do is talk through Knapsack and what we're
Mhm.
doing in space and how we're actually helping in that context. So let me,
And what's exciting is what they're gonna see is that the minimum you can do
mhm,
is it can only get better from there. So
mhm,
that's exciting because you can
definitely.
already do a lot of things.
So let me go ahead and share my screen and show you Knapsack. So the way to think about Knapsack is it's a private automation tool that is completely synced with your data. So a lot of the challenges that we were just talking about is being more responsive, being more productive, and also being able to check compliance of what you're doing. And if you think about it, to do that, you probably need to run automations on your emails, on your calendar events, on your client data. Many financial advisors, as you mentioned, don't feel comfortable and are not allowed to upload that data to ChatGPT or other tools, and therefore they need another solution. So what Knapsack does is effectively provide an application where you download the data to your computer, and the AI is actually running privately. So it's not being, your files are not being stored elsewhere. And so what you're looking at here is a meeting prep for this webinar, actually, and it's just mentioning a little bit about us, a little bit about my colleagues who are joining, and it's proposing things we should talk about. It's a little scattered because it includes information about Cheesecake Labs, but you can see that there are meeting preps throughout the day that you can run. And what's exciting about that is that, like you said, it can save you a lot of time. It's pulling from all your information to save you time on actually being prepared for a meeting. And then the other automation that we can think through is this FINRA compliance automation. So this is where it actually checks your emails for whether there is a issue, a FINRA issue. Now, I'm not a financial advisor. So here I'm a very compliant email, which is rescheduling a meeting. But there are a lot of other meetings, a lot of other emails that would not be from a financial advisor where this would be higher impact. And then, of course, we have an email summary automation. You were talking about being very much on top of your emails, even if you're in back-to-back meetings. This allows you to understand more about your clients. I can ask, tell me more. So you can effectively get information as you're on the phone, for example. I'm sure this has happened to many people. They're in back-to-back meetings. They want to stay on top of their emails. They just want a very quick summary of what's going on. We designed this to give you very quick information. Now, you also mentioned the fact that there is a need to upload information once in a while, tax returns, things like that. And that is something we support as well. And so I'm going to upload a file in here. Let me see if I can find a suitable file. So let me actually upload a file from here, some attendees from a talk we had last night. And I'll say something like, tell me more about these attendees. And so it's going to run this automation, automatically basically analyze the file and allow you to analyze who's actually coming to this event. And it basically analyzes the number of people who are coming to this event and gives you information about the file. And you can actually do this for a folder as well. For example, if you have a client folder with all their financial information in it, you can upload it and ask information about that. And what's important here is that there is no limit. Often, if you upload to ChatGPT, there's a 10 file limit. If you use something like
Mhm.
NoLM, there's a 20 file limit. There is no limit here. So you can upload a file that has any number of client documents, and you can start asking questions about that file, and it'll give you AI responses to that, to those questions. And I think that is really important to basically enable the kind of productivity we were just talking about. Now, what's going to happen in the future? In the future, there'll be a lot more automations available. So we're pushing out more automations based on feedback we're hearing from people. We're also going to be creating an automation app store of sorts, or an automation library where you can search for those. And we're going to be creating a way for you to create your own automation. So if there's something you need done, then you can actually create your own automation and then have that be running on a schedule. I think that's effectively what we are offering. We did launch just yesterday. It's available on knapsack.ai. People can try it out and use it for A, being more effective in meetings, B, being more responsive to their clients, C, being more compliant by automatically checking on their emails. So that's where we are right now. Now, where are we going to be in the future? So I did want to share a glimpse into the future in terms of what we are doing. So just give me one moment here. Okay. So one thing we heard when we talked to RAAs and financial advisors is that they really spend a lot of their time in meetings. The meetings are very important, but they're often blocked from actually using recording tools like Zoom in their meetings. So or Otter AI or Read AI or Zoom recordings, they're generally not allowed to use those things. And What that means is they often have to hire people on their team to take notes. And those notes are critically important. Those notes are often the record of the client interaction. It's important from a compliance point of view, from a client relationship point of view, that those are accurate. And so there are no real tools available that does this in a compliant way. And that's what we heard people want. And so that's what we're actually building in to our app in the future. When you start a meeting, you can actually start typing your own notes. You will obviously see the meeting prep that has been generated to help you prepare for the meeting for people who do that. You can join the meeting, and while you're in the meeting, you'll see your notes. But what you also see is suggestions. So this is really exciting. While you're talking to a client, they might be mentioning something, and automatically the AI transcription, which again runs privately, will check against your other files for other relevant files related to what the person's talking about, whether that's an email or a file on your computer or a file in your cloud drive or even a meeting that happened before. And it'll actually add those suggestions here in line, which you can then add to the notes if you want to, or you can just open it and see what that is and how it's relevant. And so that again makes you more responsive to your clients, makes you more prepared for those meetings. They might have emailed you something 3 months ago and they're referring to it, and you don't have to go scrambling for that email. You can also ask a follow up question directly. So they might be referring to something they mentioned before, and you can ask about a previous email that happened. And you can just do that directly in line while you're in the meeting without having to skip out and look at something else on your computer. And then once you're done with the meeting, the summary is generated automatically and then it can be edited by you. Now, this is also important. There are a lot of required There's some required language, especially for financial advisors selling insurance and other heavily regulated products. And those can be included automatically and those can be added manually as well. We have the option to download a transcript and view it, but that can also be disabled. And in fact, that is something we've heard from RAs needs to be disabled because of the books and records issue. Generally, the concern is you don't want to we don't want to ever put an RA in a position where they are deleting a transcript. They cannot do that. So having the tool itself never save a transcript seems a great way to just have the primary record of the meeting be the notes, which is really the way a lot of people prefer to operate. And then of course you can keep on asking follow-up questions. And then this is where it gets really exciting. There's always follow-up. Now, how do you actually generate this follow-up? We already know based on the meeting what follow-up is required. So we can automatically create tasks from the meeting, which can then be assigned out to the client or to someone else and then tracked directly within the tool. And so that's a meeting follow-up automation that we're hoping to roll out as well. So that's a bit of what's happening in the future. And so maybe, Guillaume, I would love your take on how useful is this? What do you use right now for this kind of workflow? How is this helpful or not helpful?
Yeah, no, it's really exciting. So I use that I'm trying a lot of AI transcript tools and things like that, but then most of them are not the summary. First of all, it doesn't give you action items.
Mhm.
Okay. And when it gives you action items or when it gives a transcript to uh, uh, the transcript of the meeting, it just tell you, you talked about 401k.
Mhm.
That's the summary. It says, you talk about 401k. Yeah, but what did I say? What, what was inside? What did I say as an advice for the 401k? Or how does it translate into an action items? Most of the tool that I tried don't go there. They just say, oh, you talk about 401ks. It's not very useful. Then the suggestion, so many times in meetings, I'm like, yeah, oh, you remember I told you that 6 months ago? Oh, sure. I remember I have 200 people. I work with 200 people. I absolutely remember what you told me 6 months ago or during our last meeting. If the AI can tell me, oh, yeah, in the last meeting, you talked about that, or they are referring to an email they sent a month and a half ago, and you answer, great. Just say, oh, yeah, sure. I can, yeah, we did this, we did that. Right now, what I do is go to the email, look for the name on Gmail and say, okay, what was this email again? If I didn't do it before the meeting, usually I do it in my prep when I prep the meeting, I'm like, okay, what did we talk about with this person, etc. But sometimes I don't have time between two
Mm,
meetings. And so I have to, yeah, behind the scene, I have to go to my computer and, okay, what is this email that this person is talking about? It happens all the time, like
mm,
very often. So if I have a live, something that tells me, hey, here is what this person is referring to, perfect. And I also work in different languages. So what's great is so far it doesn't matter whether I have a meeting in French or in English, works the same.
mhm,
So that's also great when you have different type of clients. Um, Plus, my goal also for that is it's gonna learn like what type of clients do you have, or what kind of things you say most of the time. And it's going to tell you, hey, don't forget to say that. For example, when I talk to a client, a prospect,
mhm,
first meeting, I don't know the person. We talk about I talk about the way I work. I talk about the contracts. Sometimes I forget to say something very important, which is that there is no commitment. When you sign one of my contract, there is no commitment. Sometimes I get too excited by the conversation. I say, "Oh yeah, you're gonna have to sign a contract," and and then here are the next steps. You sign one of the contracts, and then we leave the meeting. And oh, I forget to say there was no commitment. You don't pay in advance. There's no commitment. You don't have to stay a year with me or anything. That's and so sometimes I receive an email from clients that say, "What do you have to stay a year with you, or there's one more interaction?" When I understand, if the AI at the end tells me, "Hey, during the meeting, you usually say this and that, you didn't say it this time,"
mhm,
great. I'm like, okay, let me see what else do I want to tell you. Oh yes, there's this and that.
mm.
Perfect. I covered everything.
Yeah, so suggested language. I've heard a similar thing for people selling insurance. There are usually three things they need to tell people when they sell insurance, and if they only say two, the big problem, then they need to go and
In
put an
terms of
incremental
compliance, yes.
compliance issue. So if it's automatically suggesting or advising you on these things as you go, same thing with doing compliance checks. Obviously, you can also have this check your drafts for as you're writing an email. So before you actually send an email, if there's something non-compliant in the email, it'll tell you that this is
Yeah,
send or
that would
something
be awesome.
email. So all those automations are possible, and it's exciting to work on that. So let's talk a little bit about pitfalls, ethical considerations, just in terms of or what's not working in technology. We've talked to you, you've tried a lot of tools, used a lot of tools. What do you think the frustrating points are for financial advisors when they try to use technology with their work?
The segment. So first of all, there's a huge um, segmentation in the financial advisory world. We have one tool for this, one tool for that, one tool for this. We have data in the cloud. We have data in our CRM. We have data. Uh, we have tax returns somewhere. We have emails. We have Facebook stuff. All these things is just in different places.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that put everything together. So when I built my company, I tried to have integration between different tools to prevent that, but that was really painful.
Right.
Like it doesn't integrate well. I didn't talk, or tool don't talk well with each other. So it's a little all difficult. One of the thing that I'm struggle with in terms of AI, or like writing an email and having help from AI, there's a couple of things we need to be careful of, and it's getting better and better. It's first, what are the sources from the AI? Like I work again, cross-border financial planning. You need to know the tax treaty, the French American tax treaty very well. There's some interpretation, etc. So when I ask AI, hey, what is the article of the tax treaty, the French American tax treaty that talks about this and that capital gain, I still need to check
Mm,
to make sure that it didn't pick a random article. And it's getting better. Before I needed to check like all the time for everything. No, I found ways to check. Okay, you said that. Where did you find that? What page? Like when I look at life insurance or things like that, I say, okay, what page, what source? And then I can, okay, that's the AI didn't hallucinate. It's right. So as a financial advisor, you have to be very careful with that.
mm,
Very careful as what you say, how you say it. Also, I struggle with like when I draft an email with ChatGPT
Mm.
and I change it, and sometimes I change 10% of it, sometimes I change 50% of it. Do I have to say generated by ChatGPT or partially generated by ChatGPT or by AI? Or what do I have to disclose that, or
Right.
shouldn't disclose that because I changed it? So it's partly, it's like I looked online and I found articles and I put them together, and I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't have a good answer for that.
I don't, yeah, this is a good, interesting ethical consideration when it comes to attribution to AI, not attribution. I think it's probably generational as well. I think a lot of a younger generation probably just assumes you're using AI in your work in some way. I did recently I was shown a fintech landscape map. I'll share my screen right now. And
Yeah.
this is,
This one.
yep. So this is in theory, all the tools that advisors could be using, should be using. And the person who shared this with me is a bit of an expert on tools for advisors and just shared that, you know, there are only some tools here that most people use, and most of these tools hardly anyone uses. And I'm just curious if you have a similar take and if anything jumps out at you.
Yeah. So that's, I saw these before and it got worse and worse with time. I remember like when I started my firm and I was looking at a tech stack, it was less.
Right.
And it
Right.
was smaller. And now it's, yeah, it's been hard. Also, and there are pros and cons. What's great is that if you have a problem, you have a tool for it.
Hmm.
And I personally I try to use the same tool for everything to some extent, but then you have to adapt your process to the tool sometimes because one tool cannot do everything great.
Hmm. Hmm.
Maybe two or three things great. And then the rest of it, you need, for example, I have a specific client portal. I
Hmm.
have I have my CRM, accounting software, signing software, etc., in the same environment. And so that is fine. But then I have a tool for billing. I have a tool for financial planning. I have a tool for this. I have a tool for that. So it's great because you can pick the best tool, but then this tool doesn't communicate well with another tool. And so
Yes.
you have to be careful with that. Yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard to find the right thing. And you pretty much need like one tool in each of these boxes. You have to pick one, two, three tools in each of these boxes. And then you add also, it costs you something.
Yeah, I guess I'm wondering how much many of these tools will survive in the age of AI. That's what I'm wondering. There's obviously there are a lot of these tools that are point SaaS solutions, and
Yeah.
you can write an automation that does compliance. Do you need these compliance tools? If you can write an
Yeah. Do
automation
you need
that's
e-money? Like,
right.
for example, for retirement, are you going to need e-money? Well, you can ask an AI to say, hey, tell me what are the chances for this person to retire at this age? And
Mm-hmm.
the AI will take, it cannot really do that yet, but it will.
Hmm.
It can take all the data and answer this question. And you don't have to put the data in a tool, run Monte Carlo simulation, do this and that. You just ask the AI.
Yeah.
So to me, the future, there's I don't know if you saw that on a social network like Facebook or something. There's a picture of a page in the 90s from Radio Shack where they
Mm,
have like a bunch of tools and they say, no, everything in there on this page can be done by a phone.
yes.
I think you see these pages, we're going to have the same thing. We're going
I
to have
absolutely
everything in this page can be done with AI, or most of the thing in this page can be done with AI.
yeah. I think we'll see a lot of those things done by automations. That's why we're really excited about the automation library. I think it'll save people a lot of money and time because they can actually do so much more. So I've been monitoring for questions. I haven't seen any questions come through. I think we can wrap it up. Any final thoughts as we close it out?
No, I think if financial advisors don't get on board with this type of tool, they're going to be behind at some point. And advisor wise, so you don't have to be an early adopter too much. I'm an early adopter for everything, but you shouldn't fall behind. You should at least try some tools, see how it goes, and keep in mind that it's the minimum you're going to get. They can only get better from there. It's already pretty good.
That's a great note to end on. So Thank you, Guillaume. If anyone wants to
Thank you,
learn more
Mark.
about We Financial, go to wefinancial.com. If you want to download the Knapsack application, it's free. Go to knapsack.ai. And thank you for joining our webinar.